Hi everyone, hope you're all doing good. Right, this is the second round draw for the 24th edition of the Tapology Lucky Bastard game. For this round, there are only 18 of you left in it. Actually, that's the majority of them, because I think we started at about 32, 33, something like that last week. So the majority of you actually made it through to the second round. Um, so maybe the wheel will be a little bit harsher in retaliation this time. That's what I'm fearing. But just to run over those names again as to who are still in it, it's Boom Shakalaka, Calfoth, Captain Quebec, Cool Hand Puke, Costradamus, Damien Handel 420, Dr. Maxis 2, El Guapo, Foghorn Sam, Fresno MMA, Cushy Cake, Piggy Bank, Rigno, Shat, the Dirty UFC Man, the MMA Historian, Trig, and Troz. So they're the 18 that are still in this game, and just go back to the main page. For this round, we have UFC Fight Night, Mikel Pereira versus Anthony Hernandez. And it's two fighters here in the middleweight division, which have got on a little bit of win streaks at the moment. Pereira's got the biggest of them with an eight-fight win streak, and Anthony Hernandez on a five-fight win streak. So yeah, they're both coming into this in great form. Obviously, Pereira's the more visually entertaining one because he's the way he flips and flops about all his well, I don't even know what you call it, Cleopatra or something like that. Some kind of it's if you want like Mortal Kombat kind of shit, he's the sort of guy you want to be watching. But not always very effective, but sure is entertaining to watch. Um, as for Anthony Hernandez, much more traditional fighter in that sense, but very solid fighter, and he's been consistently getting wins. But having said that, I do slightly fancy Pereira for this because once you look past all the flips and that's the kind of striking that he's known for, he's actually got a very good submission game. He's picked up some decent little submission wins on that win streak, and I've actually got him to win by a second round submission here. That's my pick. I reckon he'll somewhere along the lines once he's worn himself out in the first round doing all those flips and will find himself a sneaky submission. That's my prediction for that one. But of course, you're not here to listen to my little rambles about which, to be fair, I mean that's going to be most of it, whether you like it or not, really, isn't it? It's going to subject you to my rambles, but you're also here to find out who you're being drawn with in the Lucky Buster game, or for those of you left in it anyway. So first up is Boom Shakalaka. Let's see who the wheel has in store for Boom Shakalaka. And he gets Melissa Martinez. Melissa Martinez, therefore, Boom Shakalaka. And so this is one of the ones I'm more confident on, to be honest. She's facing off against Alice Ardeline in the strawweight division, and I'm going to be honest, I've not been overly impressed with Alice Ardeline's records. Uh, so I'll probably get back to that a bit more later. Try and focus more on Melissa Martinez, who's actually been drawn here. But Melissa Martinez is 7-1. Okay, that loss was last time out. It was her UFC debut, but her regional record up until then has been pretty impressive. It's just picked up some KO wins so against okay, I'm not sure exactly who they were exactly, but judging by the records coming into the fights, they looked like they got a few wins behind them. Whereas by comparison, Ardeline's regional ones before her UFC run were very poor, mostly losing records. So I fancy Martinez for this one. I reckon a first round's knockout uh, for Martinez. So I think Boom Shakalaka's got my most confident one. I'd say that's probably one of the most confident ones. still quite close in the betting. So obviously, maybe Ardeline's better than I'm giving her credit for. Maybe Martinez isn't as good as some think she is. But I think that's a fairly safe pick, if I'm being honest. So let's move on to Calfoth. Let's see if Calfoth gets another, well, what I'd consider to be a lock anyway. And he gets one of the main eventers, Anthony Hernandez. Anthony Hernandez there for Calfoth. And yeah, as I said in the intro, he's much more very consistent fighter. He's been putting together a very steady win streak, 5 in a row. 12-2, so a little bit inexperienced. I suppose that was another factor I was considering, because Anthony Pereira's had a lot more fights in his career, so he's got more experience to draw on. Maybe against a relative veteran like Pereira, that will make a fair bit of difference, I'd have thought. But interesting, they're both only 31, so there's not even that any difference in it. Pereira's got 31 wins, 11 losses. And compare that sheer number of fights to Anthony Hernandez's 12-2. That's pretty significant difference in experience. But then I suppose you could also say Hernandez hasn't taken as much damage by this point in his career. So who knows? There's an argument for it. And I wouldn't be too surprised if Hernandez does get a win here. It's certainly possible. But particularly if Pereira gasses himself out with all those flips. But I think Pereira's the slight favourite in this one. But Calfoth not completely out of the running just yet. Just means he'll have to wait all the way until the main event to find out his fate. Next is Captain Quebec to face the wheel. And Captain Quebec gets Jessica Penn. Jessica Penn there for Captain Quebec. And oh, excuse me. Jessica Penn up against Elise Reed. She's again, so speaking of veterans, she's well, it's rude to say how old a lady is, but she's 41. That's just as well, 41 years young, I suppose, if you want to put a more flattering spin on it. But yeah, no, so she's okay. She's still she's past her prime. Let's be honest, but lost the last two, so on a slight downturn there, but she's still got a very solid ground game, and she's still got some decent little wins in the later stages of her career. And as obviously I'm talking last maybe 3-4 years now, but she can still hang in there, or I like to think she can still hang in there with some of the best, even if she is a little bit past her prime. And against someone like Elise Reed, who's 7 wins, 4 losses, again, I think that experience is just going to be a little bit too much. And the thing is, Elise Reed, she's looked quite poor on the ground as well. She's of those 4 losses, the last 2 of them have come by submission, whereas Jessica Penn's proven to be fairly solid on the ground. So I've got Jessica Penn by a second round submission there. But let's see if experience will win over youth in this case. Captain Quebec will certainly be hoping so. Or maybe it will just be the passing of the torch moment for Elise Reed. But anyway, passing the torch on to Cool Hand Puke now, who's going to face the wheel. And he gets Asu Alambayev. I've probably not pronounced that right, but Asu Alambayev for Cool Hand Puke. And he's up against Matthias Nicolau, another one I've probably not pronounced right. I've got Nicolau to win this one by decision. He's on a 2-fight losing streak at the moment, but he has got wins over Tim Elliott and Matt Schnell, which Okay, I know flyweight's a little bit shallow in terms of division, but those guys are decent. Well, they're some of the best, really. If you take the UFC to be the best in the world, and the fact of the matter is, Matt Schnell and Tim Elliott are some of the best flyweight fighters in the world. So to have two wins over them is very impressive. Um, as for Asu Alambayev, well, he's got 20 wins, two losses, so very impressive at a glance. Obviously, I'm not 100% sure exactly how good some of those wins are, a lot of them on the regional scene, but since he's come into the UFC, he's had his three fights into the UFC now. He has looked pretty decent. Um, so yeah, this is just sort of another step on the road to climbing the rankings for Alambayev, maybe, or at least that's what Captain, oh, not Captain, Cool Hand Puke will be hoping for. Kostradamus is next to take on the wheel. Let's see who Kostradamus gets drawn with. And he gets Tamires Vidal. Tamires Vidal for Kostradamus. And up against Joseline Edwards. Um, yeah, this is a fight I've gone back and forth a few times on, so it's a very close 50-50 one, in my opinion. Um, she's again, she's on a bit of a losing streak, but then again, so's Joseline Edwards. Um, it's Joseline Edwards looked like one of the best. Well, looked like, well, not one of the best, but definitely a very promising prospects in the women's MMA. But lost the last two, so kind of struggled with a step up in competition. But maybe this will be a bounce back fight for her. I reckon it will be. I reckon she'll get a decision win, but Vidal's very much in the same boat, really. Got some stupid pop up and security crap. I'm never going to buy that shit. Well, any more unnecessary shit. But where was I? But yeah, no, Vidal very much in the same kind of boat there as Rosaline Edwards, coming off a bit of a losing streak. So it's very close. I've gone with Edwards for now, but it's a real 50-50 one. So Costradamus, it's yeah, mate, it's a coin cost one really. Damien Handel for 20 next to face up the wheel. Let's see if he's going to be. Click the wrong thing there, haven't I? Let me just check. I'm still screen sharing because that went a bit funny for a second. Yeah, I'm still coming up on the wheel. Yep. Damien Handel for 20. Let's see if he gets drawn with. And Damien Handel gets Darren Elkins, or Darren the Damage Elkins. One of the best tattoos in the game. That's for sure. Very entertaining fighter as well. He always brings the action to the fights. I've got him to win by decision, having said that. But up against Daniel Pineda, well, that's very much a battle of the veterans. Darren Elkins with 28 wins, 11 losses. And yeah, Daniel Pineda with 28 wins, 16 losses. So they both had tons of fights between them. Elkins 41 years old now, but he's still in the better form as of late, though. He's won his last fight, and okay, the one before that wasn't didn't go his way, but then he did win the one before that. But he's still getting some wins, despite his slightly more advanced stage and being a little past his prime. And I think that's going to be the difference here. Does he still have that firepower that he had back in the day to find a knockout? Maybe, possibly, but I think Pineda's experience, along with uh, Elkins's decline a little bit, I think we're probably going to see this one drag out to a decision. So Darren Elkins for a decision is my pick for that one. And if that's right, Damien Handel for 20 will see the third round. But let's see if Dr. Maxis 2 will see the third round. Let's see who he gets drawn with. Dr. Maxis 2. And he gets Charles Johnson. Charles Johnson there for Dr. Maxis 2. And I've got him to win by decision as well against Sumu Dereji. Again, I've probably not pronounced that one right. But as for Charles Johnson, anyways, he does win most of his by decisions. He's not always the most explosive or entertaining fighter to watch at times, but the lack of finishes doesn't mean a lack of skill at all. He's consistently getting wins, and yeah, he's actually. I feel like I've been seeing a lot of him lately over the last couple of years or so. Actually, I feel like he's been fighting quite regularly in succession. But anyways, I reckon there's going to get a decision against Suma Dureji, who's lost his last two. But again, by against, as I was saying earlier, against Tim Elliott and Matt Schnell, it's funny enough the same ones Mateus Nicolau got wins over. So the same applies there. Two losses, but against two of the best in the world. So I suppose you can't really knock him too much for that. But yes, I do still reckon Charles Johnson's going to come out on top in this one. El Guapo next to face the wheel. Let's see who El Guapo gets drawn with. And he gets Kyler Phillips. Kyler Phillips there for El Guapo. And one of the co-main events fights up against Rob Fonts in the bantamweight division. I've gone with Phillips to win by decision. If this was a couple of years ago, I'd have 100% gone with Rob Font. But lately, he's been, like I say, he's been losing quite a few of them. He's never getting finished. He's always going the distance. But I don't know what it is. He just never, over the course of 3 rounds, he just never usually gets the win. He always has the judges go against him. But thinking about it, a lot of those fights, you have to say, yeah, he didn't necessarily deserve the win in a lot of them. So I think he's starting to get to the stage where he's falling off, but he's still tough enough that he can't get finished. So maybe I guess the stage where I see Rob Font turn into a bantamweight gatekeeper in the UFC. But who knows? But as for Kyler Phillips, so he's yeah, not okay, sure, not as experienced, 12-2, but he's making a steady rise in the division. And this is one of those times I do think that the slightly younger fighter is going to come up and really take it to the veteran, really. But I can see it's not being another decision loss for Rob Font, but that's good. That'll be good news for El Guapo if it is, because I mean him and Kyler Phillips go through. So obviously El Guapo is going to be pleased to hear that prediction, I'm sure. Foghorn Sam next to take on the Wheel of Doom. Let's see if Foghorn Sam gets drawn with. And he gets Elise Reed. Elise Reed there for Foghorn Sam. She's up against Jessica Penn. Obviously, Captain Quebec got Jessica Penn. So that's our first head-to-head, I think. And yeah, as I've said, I think Jessica Penn's experience is going to be the deciding factor of this fight. As I say, she's getting older, but she's still got that experience to draw on, and she still hasn't looked too bad despite the slight downturn in form. But yeah, that's I can say, it's not a very good outlook for Elise Reed, but who knows? Maybe I'll be wrong with this one. Maybe I think in terms of the betting, Reed is the slight favourite, but maybe the young up and coming fighter takes it to the veteran, as I was saying in the previous one. Maybe it's another case of that occurring. Foghorn Sam will certainly be hoping so. Fresno MMA is next to take on the wheel. Let's see whose corner he's going to be in for tomorrow night. That's Fresno MMA with Tamires Vidal. Tamires Vidal. Yeah, he came up earlier, didn't he? Excuse me. Tamires Vidal for Fresno MMA. Yeah, who had him earlier? Costradamus had him earlier, and so, excuse me. Oh, fuck. Oh dear. Da, da, da. Oh, excuse me. Sorry, that's better. Right. If I spent any time editing this video, that couple of well, it felt like a couple of minutes would have got edited out there, but no, I am still alive, and yeah, up against Joseline Edwards. Yeah, as I was saying, they're both in very similar situations in there at the moment. Um, Joseline Edwards, obviously on a two-fight losing streak, so's Vidal, but up until I've got the fucking hiccups now. Fuck, I don't need this shit. All right. Um. Anyway, up until those last couple of fights, anyway, I'd say that Edwards was looking the most promising. So I reckon, yeah, I reckon she's going to be the one that comes out on top on top there. Um, so yeah, now maybe a little bit. I'm going to try and keep this concise now. I've got the hiccups, but and my voice is starting to go a bit, but maybe a little bit of luck needed for Fresno MMA. Cushy Cake is next to take on the wheel. And he gets Rebellious Despange. Rebellious. Rebellious. No idea. Despain. Gianni. No idea how you spell that name, actually. Or probably not pronounced it right either, but the first fight on the card up against Austin Lane, and well, yeah, let's be honest, this is very much a setup win, really. He's obviously a very credentialed kickboxer. 5-1 in MMA. That win loss coming against Aldo Cortez Acosta in his last fight, but up until then, he's just been knocking everybody out, and I reckon he can do the same with Austin Lane, quite frankly. Especially seeing Austin Lane's lost his last two fights by KO. That's the exact. Oh, fucking excuse me. Right, that's the exact kind of fighter you want for a knockout artist to be facing off against. So, so yeah, Cushy Cake's basically got free tickets in the next round there, in my opinion. Um, Piggy Bank next up. Let's see who the wheels got in store for Piggy Bank. And Piggy Bank also gets drawn with Charles Johnson. And just like Dr. Maxis before him, I reckon that Charles Johnson's getting through. Or was going to get them through anyway. Against Samu De Reggie, again, probably not pronounced that. No, I know for well I wouldn't have pronounced that right, but yeah, as I said earlier, I reckon he's going to put in the usual kind of performance that he does, and just sort of work hard over the course of 15 minutes and just grind out a decision win there. Rigno next to take on the wheel. And Rigno, excuse me. Right, Rigno also gets Darren Elkins. I'm going to have to try and keep this really concise now because I'm struggling to fucking speak at the moment. Right, but yeah, no, Rigno also with Darren, the damage Elkins, who I reckon is going to be of the two veterans, going to be the slightly fresher one against Daniel Pineda. But as predicted earlier, he'll get a decision win. Maybe he can still find some of that old man strength and find a knockout like he was known for back in the days. But I think a decision is slightly more likely. Shat next to take on the wheel. Let's see if it's done that funny thing again. I swear, fucking Zoom gets worse with every update. It's bullshit. Anyway, Shat next to take on the wheel. Yeah. Oh, bloody hell. Oh. He gets Gene Matsumoto. Gene Matsumoto there for Shat. One of the ones that hasn't come up yet, so try and go over, spend a couple of minutes rambling about him, especially seeing he's undefeated at 15-0. He's only had the one fight in the UFC so far, but he's won that, to be fair to him. Before that, obviously came through to the UFC like so many of the young fighters do these days via Contender Series. And was a staple on the LFA before that. And quite a lot of top LFA fighters tend to make their way to the UFC as well. That's another sort of pathway into the UFC. Some get signed straight away from the LFA, not rather than faffing about the Contender Series, but he's up against Brad Katona, 14-3. And yeah, the UFC has been it's a respectable run in the UFC so far. Can't really complain too much about it, but Matsumoto sort of does look like quite good prospects on paper. So I reckon he'll find a decision win there against Brad Katona, and yeah, subsequently send Shat through to the next round. Right, the Dirty UFC man next to face the wheel. And the Dirty UFC man gets Anthony Hernandez. Obviously one of the main eventers, but as the Calfoth earlier. Anthony Hernandez up against obviously Mikel Pereira. It's like I say, it's a close main event, but once you look past the theatrics of Pereira's fighting style, you do get a very solid fighter as well. That's particularly dangerous in the submission. So I reckon Pereira's going to get the submission in the win there against Hernandez, but it is a close fight. Maybe I think if Hernandez is going to win, it'll probably either be a decision or possibly even a late KO. It just depends how much Pereira wears himself out. Really, I think Pereira could end up being his own worst enemy in this fight if he tries to put on a show or underestimates Hernandez. So it's yeah, it's a dangerous little fight, but I do still reckon Pereira's getting the win on that one though. The MMA historian, the MMA historian is next to take on the wheel. Down to the last three. I'll try and keep it concise. Charles Johnson again. Yeah, like a good opportunity there to save my voice. I think I've already gone over him quite a lot there, but as I said, maybe not the most entertaining fighters. Maybe he's not the most hyped fighter exactly coming into this fight, but he's been picking up a steady stream of wins. And he's been getting around in as well, to be fair to him. That also helps build on experience. And I reckon he's just like who else? No one's had his opponent so far, but who else has had him? Piggybank and Dr. Maxis 2 says 3 people now that are sort of piggybacking on the ironic, yeah, piggyback. That actually wasn't intentional, but yes, piggybank is one of the ones that has Charles Johnson. But so yeah, quite a lot of a stake just for his fight there. All right. Okay, last two. Try and save what little remains of my voice, but next is Trig. Trig is now facing the wheel. Joseline Edwards there for Trig. Jose Lynn Edwards for Trig. And there's been quite a few. I suppose this is now probably, well, it could be argued to be one of the. Well, there's not really been a main standout main event for the Lucky Bastard game, but Fresno MMA had Tamiris Vidal. I think somebody else had Tamiris Vidal earlier as well. So yeah, just scrolling up. Yes, Costradamus there. And now we've got Trig with Joseline Edwards as the opponent. I reckon Edwards is the favourite for this one, so looks slightly better before going on that little bit of downturn. It's a little bit concerning when you see that a fighter that's coming into the UFC looking good, and then they step up in competition a little bit and struggle. That's it does leave a few questions to be answered, but I reckon this could be very much a bounce back, a comeback in this one. See her come back to winning ways. But yeah, it's a bit of a 2v1 there anyway, so I suppose you could argue that is the Lucky Bastard game main event. And finally we have Troz. Let's see who Troz gets matched with for tomorrow. Yep, that's definitely going to be our Lucky Bastard game main event, so to speak. So he also gets Tamirez Vidal. Yeah, 7-3, but 1-2 in the UFC. Also, like Edwards on a 2-fight losing streak. So, yeah, as I've already said, I reckon Edwards takes that one. Right. Okay. That concludes the second round draw. That means that I can shortly put you all out of your misery, all of my dear viewers, and put myself out of my misery. I'm just going to probably go straight to bed after I sorted this shit out. Oh, but just to run over those one last time, just to reiterate who's been drawn with what, because particularly the last few entries in my voice probably haven't been overly clear. Boom Shakalaka with Melissa Martinez. Cal Foth with Anthony Hernandez. Captain Quebec with Jessica Penn. Cool Hand Puke with Asu Alambayev. Costradamus with Tamiris Vidal. Damien Handel 420 with Darren the Damage Elkins. Dr. Maxis 2 with Charles Johnson. El Guapo with Kyla Phillips. Foghorn Sam with Elise Reed. Fresno MMA with Tamiris Vidal. Cushy Cake with Rebellious Despange. Piggy Bank with Charles Johnson. Rigno with Darren the Damage Elkins. Chat with Gene Matsumoto. Chat with Gene Matsumoto. The Dirty UFC Man with Anthony Hernandez. The MMA Historian with Charles Johnson. Trig with Joseline Edwards, and he'll be up against Troz and several others with Tamiris Vidal. Right, so that concludes the second round draw. So yeah, give my voice a bit of a rest now. Obviously, you lot can you're no longer my hostages, so you don't have to listen to my rambles for another week. So all I'm going to say is good luck to everyone still in this game. Good luck to anyone who's got bets on it in real life. Hope you win a little bit of money. So, to be honest, I wouldn't even bother betting on anyone in this card really. But if you are, good luck with that. Obviously, good luck with your picks in Tapology, and we'll see who makes it through to next week. But until then, so long. Fucking hell. Until then, so long for now.